And so for an explosive reading, a reading that would have been and clearly is explosive as Jesus tells it first time in his own time and place, and is explosive still for us. Are you ready? As Jesus was setting out on a journey, a man ran up and knelt before him and asked him, "Good teacher, what must I do to inherit eternal life?" Jesus said to him, "Why do you call me good? No one is good but God alone. You know the commandments. You shall not murder. You shall not commit adultery. You shall not steal. You shall not bear false witness. You shall not defraud. Honor your father and mother." He said to Jesus, "Teacher, I have kept all these since my youth." Jesus, looking at him, loved him and said, "You lack one thing. Go, sell what you own and give the money to the poor, and you will have treasure in heaven. Then come, follow me." When he heard this, he was shocked and went away grieving, for he had many possessions. Then Jesus looked around and said to his disciples, "How hard it will be for those who have wealth to enter the kingdom of God." And the disciples were perplexed at these words. Jesus said to them again, "Children, how hard it is to enter the kingdom of God. It is easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than for someone who is rich to enter the kingdom of God." They were greatly astounded and said to one another, "Then who can be saved?" Jesus looked at them and said, "For mortals it is impossible, but not for God. For God, all things are possible." Peter began to say to him, "Look, we have left everything and followed you." Jesus said, "Truly, I tell you, there is no one who has left house or brothers or sisters or mother or father or children or fields for my sake and for the sake of the good news, who will not receive 100-fold now in this age, houses, brothers and sisters, mothers and children, and fields with persecutions, and in the age to come, eternal life. But many who are first will be last, and the last will be first." I say it's an explosive passage, and we can hear in the reaction of the disciples how explosive it was, and we can feel in our own hearts how explosive it is now. One thing you lack: go, sell what you own and give the money to the poor, and you will have treasure in heaven. Then come and follow me. It is perfectly possible to approach this section of Mark's Gospel, also of course in Matthew and Luke, a little bit like a bomb disposal expert, to try to relieve it of that explosive challenge. I've heard sermons, and maybe even I've preached one or two myself, and to say, well, this is a very rich man. This is variously in the Gospels called young and a ruler, somebody right at the top of the financial tree. Somebody for who avarice and money is a particular problem, and so he is a special case. If you ask the question of any of us, is there something that stands in the way of your response to God? Each of us will have our own things, but for this man, it is his money, because he is so wealthy. And so this is a challenge specifically for him, not letting us off the hook entirely, but maybe we can ask, so is there something of equivalent to us, if not our money, then something else, which is that thing we need to give up in order to follow? And this bomb disposal approach to the passage might also notice that in the response to Jesus' question about keeping the commandments, the rich man lists from what we call the second table of commandments, which are all about human relationships, but says nothing about the first table, about the relationship with God. So maybe we could spiritualize this, that this man has not yet learnt to love God properly. And as long as he does that, then all will be well. And in so doing, we have relieved the story of some of its explosive potential. But of course, the encounter is meant to be explosive. It was meant to be explosive then, and it's meant to be explosive now. If you ask what was topmost in Jesus' priority in his teachings, you could maybe come up with some answers, but the answer is pretty much always going to be the problem of wealth and the way in which it inhibits a faithful response to God. It occurs time and time again in the teachings of Jesus. We often seem to edit that out somehow in our appreciation of the challenge of Jesus, but it's always there and it's prominent. And it leaves us, I think, with a problem, because including myself in this, and I suspect all of those of you who are listening, by world standards, we are probably all fairly wealthy on a global scale. And probably, with very few exceptions, we have not sold all that we had and given all our money in aid of the poor. And we live with that wealth in a tension, if we understand the Gospels and take the message of Jesus seriously. Because we know that what Jesus is true, that surrendering material things is a key part of opening ourselves to an obedient response to God, and conversely, that holding on to such things often stands in the way of good discipleship. We see it in the world, how those who are wealthy often live lives that are very closed in and unfruitful. And those who are often the poorest of the world are the one who can speak most clearly and most eloquently of the goodness of God. We know that that is true, and we live in that tension. And so I think the good news in this passage, for those of us who find ourselves in that position, is first of all the striking comment in the beginning of the passage that Jesus looks on the rich man with love, surely already knowing what an explosive challenge he is offering and how hard or impossible it is for the man to respond. But Jesus looks on him with love as he looks on us with love. And the second thing is this, that the man, though he does go away, this one and only story in Mark's Gospel where there is a potential call story to discipleship and the person confronted does not respond and turns away. This is a story of failed discipleship. But he goes away grieving. He understands that he's caught in that tension. And I would say that grief is something that God can work with and will work with. Which is why later on in the passage, Jesus can say that though it is impossible in human terms for the rich to enter the kingdom, but for God all things are possible. Because Jesus looks on us with love. Because of that, we know in our hearts the grief of being caught in that tension. God can work his redeeming purposes in us.